Welcome to the Offsite Construction Series. I'm Audrey Grabesic, your host for the Offsite Dirt Media Channel. Today we're going to be speaking about passive ventilation and vapor release. We have Mark Willey and we have Bob Kelly here today. Mark, tell us what we're going to be talking about with this passive ventilation.
It's so exciting to let the building work the way it wants to work. And my good buddy Bob Kelly, sitting right next to me, brought this forward. I saw the effects, and wow, that's why we're here today.
I'm excited to hear about it. Bob, you turned carpenter to inventor. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I was lucky enough to always have, always find these weird projects that need to get fixed throughout my career. And in order to, basically have a prolific source of work, I was looking for the worst problem in construction. Well, as it turns out, every time we peeled back the roof membrane up against the inside of a parapet wall, which is the masonry wall that rises above the roof,
yes,
and so many thousands of buildings in Chicago,
yeah,
there was always water.
That could be a problem. Water seems like a problem. Is it a problem, Bob?
Oh, it's a problem, for sure. But what's interesting is that I couldn't believe that this was occurring on every single structure. And why hadn't the industry figured it out? So over the years, we started to do things like, how do we exhaust the water vapor? How do we keep the water vapor getting out, but yet keep the water from getting back in? And so we discovered that if we create little gaps behind all the thin membranes that create condensation, and then cap it off with basically like a sheet metal umbrella, then the water can't get back in, but yet the water vapor gets sucked out by the wind, ergo passive ventilation.
Wow. So Mark, it's interesting, your background being in green, being in the Illinois Green Alliance, seeing all these amazing technologies and advances of how builds are designed, and now it seems like we have a solution. Does this have to be performed on new construction? Can you use it on old construction?
These are perfect questions. So the answer is yes. If it's an existing building, whether it was altered or not, you're still going to create the path for that air to go and the vapor to follow. If it's a new construction, you could prohibit the problem from occurring in the first place by implementing the solution as a detail of the construction drawing.
Okay, makes sense. So tell us about your invention, Bob.
Well, the invention is to create hollow air spaces.
Okay.
So one day, I was walking, we were working on this problem. We were doing things like perforating sheet metal and creating, penetrations and letting the stuff out. And I kicked over a political yard sign in one of my clients' houses, and I saw it. And I couldn't believe it was a hollow extrusion that was lightweight and strong. And so I did an experiment, and I was laminating layers of this thinner corrugated plastic together in strips, and found out that it's plenty strong to support 4 or 6 inch limestone pieces. So the trick is that we remove the mortar joint between the limestone and the top of the wall on either old or new building, and when the air passes through, it creates a drying effect and negative pressure, so that there's suction involved, there's a natural wet to dry effect going on, and so you can't stop the water from getting out of the building. Amazing. So we've done, every building, all of my clients were guinea pigs. Okay, clients, you're all good, because we've never had a callback after 80 plus buildings. Wow,
incredible. So show us, Mark, can you pick up one of those examples and maybe you can give us a little bit more overview, because Bob's been doing this, and for somebody like myself, I'm more of a visual person. So can you explain it a little bit more for me?
So you're picturing that parapet on top. If this is set down in there, you can see on the inside that there's a path for that air to flow. And then you're going to, over time, be working with different membranes and roofing coatings. So there's an ability to also add a piece in there for serviceability over time, because you want to set the building up and the next person owning and working on it for success. So that controlled air movement on one side of the parapet as well as on the other is going to deliver that, and your capstone goes right back on the top. It's a beautiful assembly for that, and you're delivering this aspect for that complete flow through, as well as what goes up through the wall itself.
It's amazing. Wow. So how long have you been doing this? Like, you came up with this idea, then you've got your 80 buildings that you've been doing. How are people finding this? Like, how are they hearing about you, Bob?
Well,
and the product's called
Wick Right.
Wick Right. Sorry. Wick Right. Got it.
Wick correctly. Wick moisture out correctly.
I love it.
So we've been doing this for now almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
They say that every overnight success takes about 20 years or so. So
Yeah.
we're finally getting discovered. But what's interesting is that, you know, every single time we've implemented this, the same effect has happened.
Amazing.
Moisture has come out of the building, and unfortunately it's very difficult to measure, but all of my clients say the same thing. Their houses don't smell moldy anymore.
Wow.
And
is this only in new construction, or can you use it on existing buildings?
you can use it on existing buildings. We have slight variations on the same theme. What I found was fascinating was that very little change between the materials, which there was only 4 basic materials involved in doing this. So very subtle changes. I'm able to adapt it to any style of construction.
How does it come into the process? Do you start it where the production plans are already done? I mean, where do you fall into that process?
Well, initially it was in retrofits because our clients would come through home inspectors, because home inspectors, when the home inspectors found out that I was doing this, you know, their clients who've already spent, I mean, there's so many people who spent $30,000 to $50,000 trying to fix the problem, and the problem always keeps on reoccurring.
The nose knows, right? You walk into that building and you think it's like a wet dog, and then you realize the people have never owned a pet. That's a really dangerous period. And sometimes you walk in a building and the actual drywall is falling, and the joists and rafters themselves, because of that trapped moisture, are rotting away. So you really know that someone inside, safety of not only their physical health, but their medical health is a real concern.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I can see that. So how long do you see the results after you have installed that?
Well,
Does it vary? Like, you're just, the object is to really just getting the moisture out, right? Starting from that surface of extrusion, right?
right. I've had clients tell me that the mold smell left the building in a few weeks.
Wow. It's pretty impactful.
You can actually watch through the masonry on the outside. The moisture it's amazing. It's moving up the wall. Wow. And there's a video of drilling through the masonry, not at the bottom, at the top, and the water literally is pouring out like you're at the drinking fountain.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy good.
It's playing
good for you, coming up with a solution, you know? I mean, that's what makes life so exciting, that you had the intuition to even do something like that when you weren't in that part of the business. I mean, being a carpenter, you see all aspects, but to solve something like that and something that is so needed is just a wonderful opportunity for all of us to learn from you, Bob.
Thank you.
It's very great.
So to top it off, really the bottom line is we need to turn our buildings to a linear chimney and separate the energy envelope from the structure. And really, if we can ascribe to that idea, then really we'll have sustainable structures. And that's the goal, and that's one of the reasons why we're good friends. Aside from the fact he's a good guy.
Imagine that. Mark always saving a building, one building at a time. I love it. This is great, Mark. Thank you for introducing us to Bob today. What a great person and a great idea.
I think the audience wants the dirt, and I think they got it today.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you for both joining us today on Offsite Dirt.
Thank you.